Welcome to Thursday Thunderdome, where once a week we take one topic to the Thunderdome and put it in a little bottle, shake it up real hard, and see what we get.
Spews everywhere.
Yeah, it's gross. It's a big mess every time we have the podcast. As you've already heard, we have my co-host Chris with me every week.
Greetings.
This week we're talking about marriage.
Marriage.
See, I wasn't gonna make the joke. I was thinking about doing the Princess Bride joke, and I was just like, that shit's done to death. And like, Princess Bride's a very good movie. And it's just like, I'm not gonna do it. I couldn't do it.
And then I did it.
I did just watch that episode of The Office though, where Michael Scott does that at Phyllis's wedding.
Oh yes,
yeah.
yes.
That's what
What a
made me
great
think of
show.
that. But no, like we've referenced many times, we are both married.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chris, how long have you been married to your wife?
Let's see. We got married, if I carry the 2 to the October, just over 2 years.
And then I think this is year 5 with my wife, because we've been together 10 years.
Decade.
Yeah, which is insane.
Right? To say you've been together a decade.
Yeah, because we met when we were in college. We worked at like a small convenience store in a dorm, and we just met that way and just started dating. That was it. Like I turned 21 that year. I got a girlfriend. I failed that year and had to take a 5th year of school. So I mean, it was totally worth it.
Worth it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a really fun year. But yeah, no, we've been together 10 years. Like I said, been married 5 now, which is insane. And just I like being married. Like it's like there's like a common joke among like men in this like pop culture of like, oh, like the old ball and chain and all that shit. It's like, no, I love being married. Marriage is fun.
No, the wife is not the old ball and chain. I love coming home to my wife. I actually I leave work and I'm excited to go home, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what you're supposed to be? Like you're supposed to wake up in the morning and hate going to work, but enjoy coming home to your wife.
That's what I do.
Family, dogs, you know.
Yeah, like my wife is actually in Las Vegas right now, and it's just like, I don't know. I guess I'll mope around the house for a couple of days. Like we were actually recording on a different night because last night I was supposed to hang out with my wife because she should go to Las Vegas, and then she had to work really late. So I was like, okay, well.
And then it didn't work out to hang out.
Yeah, so I'll see her this weekend. But she's been working a lot, so I don't get to see her this much. But no, like we have, like I'm sure you experienced it at your work, where at my work, like people make jokes about like, oh, gotta like make sure it's okay with her, or like oh, like you know, like maybe you miss like the single life. It's like I don't.
No, single life sucks.
Yeah, it's
hard.
Me being now, like I cannot imagine myself being single. Like I have friends with single, and like I talk to them about it because like I don't know the situations. Like what do you guys do to meet people? Like I suck at making friends. Like first of all, friends alone. I can't remember if I've said this on the podcast or not, but like I'm literally only friends with you and your wife because your wife made me be friends with you guys.
Yeah, she like grabbed you by the shirt and said, "Come be my friend."
Yeah, because like we talked because we worked at the same company together. Like I was friends with her before I was friends with you, but like our current friend group, I am only friends with everyone because your wife was like, "Hey, we're gonna be friends now. Let's go do something." I'm like, I can do that.
Sure, yeah. I mean, my wife Casey has an amazing ability to just meet people and then be friends with them and stay friends.
Which is insane.
And when I say stay friends, I don't mean like by proximity she still maintains a friendship. No, she actively makes plans and goes and visit these friends without me sometimes in other states because they've moved away.
Yeah.
You know, she gets on the phone and is like, hey, I'm just going to have a phone call tonight and catch up with a friend that lives in Colorado or something, right? Like, she did that. I don't know if the guy lives in Colorado. I can't remember because I don't actually know the guy.
Right.
You know, but he's got his wife and kids that live in another state, but she went to college with him, 15 years ago or whatever. So it's insane. I can't do that.
Yeah, and between that and then there's like trying to meet someone to be in a relationship with is crazy. Like, one, I have no game, so I scored one time, got married, so like I'm like 1-0 is all I really need, I guess, for playing soccer. I don't need like hit 100.
That's undefeated win percentage right there.
Yeah, exactly.
For you sports analogy guys.
Like because I wouldn't know what to do. It's like I'm not the kind of person to meet people at bars. Like
not at all.
I don't like talking to strangers at bars. That's not my jam. Even like when I go out with my friends, it's like I'm cool for drinking and dancing, but like I'm not gonna go out by myself. I'm not gonna go out like on the hunt or anything.
No, I mean, I'm horrible at it. I've always met people either through work or church or school, places where I go and you are forced to talk to
Yeah,
people
exactly.
sometimes,
That's how I
right?
make friends.
And so you have to interact with these people. But if I go to a bar, I'm honestly there, if I'm on my own, to sit and drink by myself at a bar because I'm traveling for work or whatever. And I typically will not talk to people at the bar.
Why would you? They're
Men,
strangers.
women, or whatever. And I know stranger danger,
Yeah.
right? You're not
I don't
supposed to
wanna
talk to
them.
strangers.
Yeah.
So I'm right there with you. But I know people who have done that, who've gone out and they've met their wife at a bar.
Yeah.
And that's hey, good for them. That just seems crazy to me.
Insane. I couldn't do it.
No.
And then there's you met your wife through online dating, correct?
Yes. Yeah. eHarmony,
Yeah, and I know people that when I brought this up because I was just curious, it's like I don't know, you guys do online dating, and they're like maybe a little off put by the question or embarrassed. I'm like, no, that's 1,000% what I would do because I don't know how to meet people. Like, why not go to a website and just be like, I don't know, we have similar interests. Like, want to see what happens?
I think one of the biggest apps right now is Tinder, where you just swipe left or swipe right. I don't know which way is the way to
I don't
say
know
they're hot
either.
or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's how people still meet each other, right? I talk to people at work all the time, and they're going on dates with people they met on Bumble.
Yeah,
So
we talked about Bumble last week, and that Bumble. Yeah. No, Bumble is it's the female driven one, so it's
Right.
you guys can match, but it is up to the woman to decide if she's going to go on a date with you or not.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's there because people need that help. We're not the only ones who struggle meeting people outside of work or going to a bar. I mean, people do that, and then they end up having a one-night stand and having to get tested for an STD the next day.
Yeah, I just couldn't do it. That's not my thing. I just got very fortunate that I met my wife in college, and we've been together so long, and I tricked her, and she hasn't figured that out yet.
Yeah, she probably has. She's just okay with it.
Or she feels bad for me. It's probably she feels bad.
Yeah, I think we're both in that boat.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
our wives are just like, oh, these sad,
settled.
lost men. We must take care of them.
Yeah, I'm like a wounded bird. And she's he can't function as a human adult. I need to take care of this idiot.
Yeah, it's tough though, man. Being single. I mean, I met, as you said, my wife online through eHarmony. I was moving to Indiana from a state, and so I wanted to start meeting people, before I got here, and I signed up for eHarmony.
So did you do that before you moved?
I did. I was actually still living in Texas.
So yeah, it's so you were in Texas at the time, and you put on. I'm sorry, was it eHarmony?
eHarmony, yeah.
And on eHarmony, I said, "You're like, hey, I'm moving to Indiana. What's up?"
Yeah, ish.
So
so I knew I was moving to Indiana. I had lined up my apartment complex. Mm-hmm. So I did put down that I was living in Indiana.
So you gamed the system a little bit.
Yeah, I gamed it a little bit. But in some conversations with people, I definitely I said, yeah, I'm moving there, depending on when the conversation started, because I did it about a month out. Mm-hmm. And then Casey and I messaged back and forth a little bit, and then it just kind of died off. 100% probably my fault because that's not her style.
Yeah, I would say knowing her.
I just probably
unless
didn't
you beefed it.
respond
I don't know. Maybe
right?
she's like, I'm not ready for this day.
And I was on my way, it was a week out, and so I said, yeah, I'm coming back to Indiana on this day so we can go on our first date. I made it sound like I was, just out of town, right? like a fool.
Yeah. You probably sounded real cool.
Yeah, this is one of her favorite stories to tell friends. He said he was just out of town, like he was on vacation or something.
Yeah, you're real
He was just moving to Indianapolis on this day of our first date.
So to back up a little bit, why did you move to Indiana?
So I was working for Simon Property Group, which is based in Indianapolis. They own the mall, so if you go to a mall in your city, wherever you're listening to, they're probably owned by Simon Property Group.
Oh, okay. So you worked for Simon while you were in Texas.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was at a Simon mall. I was managing a Starbucks for them, and I hated where I was at in Texas. It was the absolute worst part of Texas.
So Houston, right? Got it.
I was actually going to say it wasn't Houston. It's Midland, Odessa area. Sorry, folks, if you are still in that area and you hear me say that, it is the worst part of the state. It's the desert. It's oil town. It's pretty bad. But I was managing a Starbucks there, and I hated it, wanted to get out. So basically twisted my boss's arm into making, and let me move to Indianapolis.
Yeah, so what brought that about? Like, what you were like, I want to be where headquarters is, or you just want like a change of scenery, or
It's
like why
I wanted to move to
Indianapolis?
a bigger city, and I didn't want to go back to Dallas. My whole thing is, I grew up in the North Texas area, and I mean, you ask friends, I've said for years I wanted to get out and go somewhere else and do something different. I've always had this urge to continuously move on from things. And that's a lot harder to do now where I'm at in life, but
Yeah. Oh, you mean with a wife and kid,
wife and
like
kid
yeah,
and everything.
a
It's a lot
relatively
harder
new
to
house, like
just move
Yeah.
on from that. But I've had this innate, just this desire to constantly be having change and moving forward with stuff. And part of that for me when I was single was moving away to somewhere else.
Right.
I went to college in Denton. I stayed there after college, and I was there for, oh God, I moved there in 2000, and then I moved to Indianapolis or to Midland in 2013, so 13 years. Then I moved to Midland, didn't know anybody, just the people I worked with. So that was a miserable existence in and of itself. And, they all knew each other, right?
Right.
So that was easy. And so I wanted to get out of there because it was just depressing living on your own and having nobody, And that's why I got on eHarmony, because I wanted to start, I didn't necessarily want to find a soulmate. I wanted to find people, and I was
Right.
just trying to approach it from a different way than I did when I moved to Midland. My move to Midland was much quicker than my move to Indianapolis. Indianapolis I knew was coming for a while, and so I had time to plan and think through how am I going to make this a better transition in my life.
So when you moved to Indianapolis, when did you start dating your wife?
Day one.
Really?
Day
so
one.
like you like hit the ground running, like, hey, like what's up? I was out of town and now we're dating or whatever.
Quote, just out of town. I'm back in town
God, you're
now.
cool.
And
So what year was that? Because I'm trying.
that was 2014.
Okay, because I think.
She started at CNO in March of 2014.
Okay, because I think I probably met your wife late 2014, early 2015. Because I think I went over to that department then. Okay, yeah. So you guys have probably been dating like 8 months by the time I had met her, and like. Really, like a lot of the Texas jokes come from her because, like the
100%.
well, because like the one thing she introduced me, she's like, "Oh, this is my boyfriend Chris. Like he's from Texas," and me and our mutual friend that there were like, "Okay, like whatever."
Immediately, you guys started calling me Walker.
Yeah, you were Walker Texas Ranger, like, and like for a while I just didn't even want to meet you because the joke was too good for me. I think I even like photoshopped a picture of you guys together of like with Chuck Norris's head on it.
Showed it to me.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, I was a little upset.
I've spent a lot. Like it came to the point I was just like, I spent a lot of time on this this picture for this friend at work, because I think you guys were on vacation or something, and I like swapped your pictures out. But one of the big experiences I'm sure was like, so this is your second marriage, and like
This is, yeah.
so I'm sure like moving from Texas to Indianapolis was a big deal in more than one way, especially meeting your future wife.
Right, and yeah, it is my second marriage, and I was very clear up front with her that I'm definitely looking to be in a committed relationship, but that marriage is probably at that time off the table for me.
So was that like in all honesty, was that like a day one question? Like hey, like no, like what do you want to go to like a Chili's tonight? Cool. I don't think I want to get married again. But no, they have like the 2 for $20. That's a really good deal.
No, that's actually a great question. It made me
I think you're saying a very accurate statement.
No.
I was like, Jesus Christ.
No, we I'm a very candid person when it comes to going on a first date, and I think it speaks volumes of my wife on what she's able to tolerate story-wise, because I told a couple of doozies, but that was definitely something that in my dating life after my first marriage, I made a point to put that out there. You know, initially it was, I'm not looking for a committed relationship. I just want to date around and have some fun.
Did you tell that to her?
I didn't say that to my wife.
Okay,
No.
yeah, I was gonna say like it's amazing you're married to her right now.
No. I mean,
But that was the intent of like joining eHarmony, moving to Indianapolis. Of
Yeah.
like you weren't looking for the one, you weren't finding your future wife.
I wasn't necessarily looking for my future wife. I was just looking to meet people. It just ended up we clicked really well. It worked out, you know, and that's the whole point of finding somebody, right? You find that true soulmate,
right.
you know. And after my first marriage, boy, I mean, should a divorce will wreck you, man.
Oh,
Like,
I'm sure. Like, and like I've never been through one, so I have no like experience on that.
Yeah.
But so, when, like, what year were you divorced versus when you met your wife?
divorced 2009,
Okay.
and then met Casey 2014.
Okay. So how old were you married the first time?
If doing some math, carrying the two, 25, I believe.
Okay. And I can't do math myself.
No,
So
it's
like
it's
how
tough.
how long were you married the first time?
1 year,
Okay. So were you guys
technically.
dating a long time prior to that, or?
No, we didn't date very long. We dated about a year. Got married pretty quick. I mean, to be completely honest, a lot of our friends were getting married at the time, and I think there was a peer pressure aspect to it. There was a myriad of red flags. We shouldn't have gotten married. It ended poorly. So, and I really, I'll leave it at that. You know, I don't want to
Yeah, I mean,
talk
we don't need to go
poorly of
into
her
it.
or
Just like
anything like
I'm more
that.
looking almost at logistics at this
But
point because I'm just curious of.
Yeah, so 2009, we get divorced, and boy, you talk about going down a hole, man. You know, you go into a black hole, and I drank a lot of beer.
Mm-hmm.
I put on a lot of weight.
We had talked about that
Yeah.
before. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, the things that you described that you ate, it sounded very good, but like,
I mean, I'm taking a whole bag of Idaho, you know, zesty fries and cooking it up, and then putting a whole can of Wolf Brand chili on top of it with some cheese,
yeah,
and then
sounds
just
awesome.
like devouring that. And then the next night, I'd eat a whole large pizza by myself, and
So divorce rules.
Div-
Got it. Got it.
as far as if you want to have a short-lived life, you keep
Fair,
doing that
fair.
that diet. I mean, but you know, I just went down that path, man, and it was probably, God, this is also the time when I was a teacher. So I was a teacher for 5 years during the same time frame. So
Yeah. So okay.
my first year teaching is when I got married,
Okay.
and then my second year teaching is when I got divorced. So in the fall of my second year teaching, I got divorced.
Now, out of curiosity, did you have any like students, like repeat students, or did you just teach the same class? Was it always a different class?
I taught a semester-long class, so it was always
Okay,
always
so I didn't know if
fresh
like
students, yeah.
maybe you had like same students who were like, "Ooh, Mr. Ballard has changed in some way."
No,
and-
I think I did a fairly good job of keeping it outside of my job. That's something I've always been able to do pretty well, is compartmentalize and keep personal life for the most part separated from work life, as far as impacting how I interact with people.
Right.
You know, I mean, some days you have a shitty day at home and you don't let that go over to work, and some days you have a shitty day at work and you don't bring it home. You
Right,
know?
yeah.
You know, you have to keep those separate, because you can't let, you know, a bad day at work impact how you interact with your wife, because it's not her fault,
right.
right? You know, you have to check that at the door.
Oh man, you're a better man than me. I try not to do that, but it is hard sometimes.
It is. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but that's the mentality I try to go into it with, you know, and a lot of how I am in this marriage, the way I behave now, is directly influenced by the fact that I've been married before.
Well, I'm sure.
You know, I mean, you make some bad decisions, you learn from them, you know, and you don't make them again, you know,
Yeah.
and that's kind of where I'm at. But definitely, even though it was a toxic marriage and it should not have happened, I still struggled going through the divorce, you know, because you're saying I stood up and committed myself to a person, and they did the same, and then now we're saying, oh no, we're not going to do that anymore. That weighs on your psyche, you know. And I
Right.
probably should have gone and sought counseling and gotten help and done those things, but instead
Man, get mental health. It's okay. Go to a therapist.
I decided to drink a lot of beer and date around a little bit, and
Yeah, that's something I was going to ask you about.
Yeah.
So you got divorced in 2009. So how long did the divorce take? I know it from movies where it's like, oh, I'm not going to sign the paper. So we've actually been married for 10 years, but like we're legally separated and all that. It's like, was it quick? Like, did it get drawn out?
it was pretty quick, I think. You know, I said earlier we were married technically a year. The divorce papers started at like 9 months,
Right.
and then I think finalized by the time we hit a year.
Okay.
So we were technically married for a full year.
Right.
And it took a while, but what really takes a while after divorce is paperwork's done, the ink's dried. You know, you have to deal with this.
It is
thing that has
legally
happened.
done, but maybe
But
emotionally, it's still a big part of your
it is
life.
something. It's an albatross that hangs around your neck until you decide to let go of it. And there are days still. I mean, we're years removed at this point, like
10.
a decade
Yeah.
at this point, and there are still days where, it creeps in a little bit.
Well, I'm sure, and then,
where it impacts.
I'm
you.
sure it's like it was a big part of your life, and like I know you're happily married. You have like
Yeah,
a lovely wife
sure.
and a great kid, and like I love your cat and dog too. Your cat's okay. I don't care about cats. I like your dog. But
He could be a shithead.
but that's something that's like a part of like it is part of your life and your history, and like it'll
It is
for better or for worse, it'll always like be some driving factor in your
It's
life.
baggage I carry with me for the rest of my days.
Right.
I mean, it's gonna influence decisions I make, because I've probably made it before or something similar, or I have a thought and it's like, holy shit, that thing, and I've got to deal with it.
Yeah, and then look, we all have the thing of like, I'm gonna go to bed. It's like, let's dig up that memory from 10 years ago, like right before I fall asleep, and think about that,
100%.
rather than being like in bed with my wife who is sleeping and I'm just happy to be with her. It's like, no, let's think about this bullshit instead.
And that's where I've gotten, okay, so I used to not want to cuddle going to sleep. And now I'm the guy. I want to cuddle my wife. And part of that I have found is if I will cuddle my wife, and spoon, sounds weird saying, but I go to sleep better because I don't think about those things.
Right.
I don't I don't have the memories that creep in. So I read up into a point, and then I just roll over and I spoon her for a little bit, and then I fall asleep, and then it's fine.
Right.
I will sometimes wake up with those thoughts, but I will be able to go to sleep.
But like
going
to sleep peacefully.
Yeah, and I in the first marriage I wouldn't do that. I didn't want to do that. I was like, get off of me.
I mean, I do that now, but that's because I sleep like a wild animal. My wife sleeps like she's dead, like a vampire.
Nice.
And then I sleep like a tornado. It's bad. Like, but okay, so you get divorced 2009.
Yeah.
You're dealing with all that, and that's 5 years before you meet your wife, right? Because you said 2014?
2014, so
2009, 2014.
6,
Five?
5?
Whatever. Let's not talk about math on this podcast. Everybody turn us off, please.
Not at all.
So, like, what is that like for? And this is all the time you're still in Texas. I'm sorry, what was it? Odessa?
Midland, Odessa.
Oh, okay. So Odessa wasn't
Yes.
So, like, are you going on dates? Are you trying to meet other people? Like, what was like the time? Like, what's like the recovery time?
Yeah,
on that?
so-
That's a big thing you went through.
So I got divorced 09, probably 10. I started trying to date. I got on, Match and all that kind of stuff. Most of I ended up having friends at work who hooked me up with a girl, and sweet girl, went on a couple dates with her. Straight up told her not looking for anything commitment wise. These are the people I told that to.
Right.
Not looking for anything commitment wise. Just went through a divorce. I was just straight up honest with them. I'm looking to just get out and have some fun.
Right.
And so we got together a few times, had dinner, a little bit more. And then I just kind of left her there.
Yeah, it's like
Like a jackwagon,
Yeah,
And
like
then
fizzled it out.
Yeah.
Did you even like say anything? Or did you ghost her? Just done.
ghosted.
Wow.
Essentially, yeah, it was harsh. It was bad.
I mean, I know you're
I
about
was
to
a
some stuff, but
jackwagon. I'll admit it. I was an ass, but it was just my state of mind, And then a few, like maybe 6 months, a year later, I met another girl and did the same thing to her. And then about a year
Mr.
later,
Ballard, you're getting a reputation.
about a year later, the first one texted me and wanted to go out again. And I'm like, sure, same situation. Same situation, just looking for fun, not looking for commitment. And, and I think it happened again. And then the second girl, I did it to her again.
Dude.
I was an ass. I was a complete asshole. I will admit it. And
I mean, it's easy for me to judge with the
It is,
2020
and-
hindsight and like all
but- and
that.
the thing
And
is-
I have no
I judge
relative-
myself for it. It was wrong.
And be that as it may be, like you were obviously going through something. It's not
Yeah,
like
and I don't
you're
say
still
like,
doing it now. And it's not like you
No.
met your wife and was like, hey, like, yeah, I'm good. Like,
it was
let's
like
just-
I'm out.
right.
No, I mean, and you can blame it on state of mind and the fact you were going through something. That doesn't justify it. It's just what happened.
Right.
It's what I did. I'm not going to be the last person to do it, unfortunately. and I wasn't the first. It's wrong. It's just wrong. You shouldn't do those things.
Well,
and
and agreed,
but
but
it's a coping mechanism, I guess, that we have. Like we grieve as humans, right? We grieve and we try to find something to cope with, and sometimes coping in the arms of another is something we need.
yeah, absolutely. And but the bright side is like it seems that you've obviously grown from this.
Yes.
Like you are like a much different person from like this joke that I keep hearing about. Like it's like where I knew we wouldn't be friends, but to see that and to see the change and like I know your wife very well, and I can only imagine like she wouldn't have dealt with any of that shit. Like
No, there was zero chance that she would have married me if I was that same person.
yeah. So how did that guy? I mean, I don't know if you want to get into this, but like how did that go? Like explaining to your now wife, like, hey, like I've been divorced before. Like I don't know if I want to be anything more. Like,
Yeah, I think again I just followed the same line. I was just brutally honest with her. Just told her. It's like, hey, I've slept with some other people, and
did you say that?
yeah.
Oh, you're weird.
I told her. I was just like,
I figured that would be assumed, but
and I told her like I believe I've told her most of the stories about how some of that happened, and it was a long time ago when I told her these things, right? I mean, we've been married 2 years, been together for about 5 now, so these were all initial conversations, but when we were getting close to the idea of marriage and approaching the things that go with that,
right.
she basically told me, you need to go get tested.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to go.
Good for her.
Right?
Oh, I love your wife. Your wife rules. No, hold on. Mild interjection. I'm mad at your wife because she left a whole box of cookies at my house the other day and I ate them all. I'm mad at her for that.
Those things are the best, man.
That was the only thing I'm mad about your wife. But otherwise, she rules overall. But no, good for her. That's awesome that she was like, hey, like if this is gonna happen, like go get your shit figured out first.
Yeah.
Because like that's like a hard topic to broach. Like one's like, is she afraid of offending you? But like she wants to take care of herself at the same time, and like doesn't want to make it weird. But like fucking good for her. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, she is my rock at this point. I mean, I knew very quickly that I wanted to stay with her. And I told her up front that I may not want to be married again. This is something I may not want to do. Because I can't remember if it was on the first date or not when I told her I was divorced, but it was kind of my MO, right?
Right.
To let people know that pretty quick up front.
That's a fair thing of like, if that is not the future that you want for yourself, like even on a first date, this is like, hey, like we don't know what's happening, but just in case, I want you to know. Like,
yeah,
it'd be better to say that than not say it.
Right. I mean, I guess I've been thinking about this story. I told her this story on my first date. So
that story, I'm so excited.
Yeah. So I was a teacher for 5 years, and then in 2012 I quit. I said I'm done being a teacher for whatever reasons, right? I don't make enough money. I disagree with the education system. Whatever. I got burnt out with it. So I stopped being a teacher. I went and worked at JCPenney as a stock, supervisor, making, even less money. But I was like, I know retail. I'll just get back into retail and work my way up.
The unfortunate situation is like you can make more money that way eventually.
Eventually, yeah. I can move up and become a store
teacher
manager
and help
make
your children, help the children of the future.
But so I'm still living in Denton. It's a college town. There's 2 major universities there. Former students of mine.
I was gonna make the joke and I didn't.
Going to these universities. Well, I had this rule that I wasn't going to friend students who were current students of mine on Facebook.
Right.
Well, once they graduated and they friended me, I didn't care because there was no conflict of interest, right? There still is technically in this story no conflict of interest because all of these students that I went to a party with had graduated high school and were in college.
And we're 18.
We're 18, 20, 21,
right.
Old enough. Nothing like that happened. There were no exits as far as that goes. But it was funny because I'm in my late 20s at this point, and I've gone to a lot of parties, and I'm like, there's never any room for my beer in the fridge. So,
did you like bring really snobby beer to parties? Are you that guy?
I brought my craft beer.
God, you're the worst.
In my cooler.
I'm sure I've seen one of the coolers. You bring more.
Yeah, I bring a cooler with my beer in
Oh
it
my
because why
God.
not? You know, I don't want to take up your
Please
your
see episode
your
1
fridge.
where I talked about the elitism of beer.
So I bring it in and I set it down, and everybody's kind of looking at me sideways, like this guy brought a cooler.
Who's this
What
old
the
man
hell?"
of beer?
And I open it up, and I open one of my beers, and I'm drinking a beer that's, I think it's just a Sam Adams, some sort of seasonal Sam Adams. And this girl walks up to me and she goes, "Where'd you get that beer?" I said, "From my cooler."
Good pick
And
up
she,
line.
and she's like, "Huh?" And I said, and I looked over and I go, "From my cooler," and I pointed at it in the corner. And she was just like, "Oh." It's like, "Did you want one?" She's like, "No." It's like, "All right, that's weird. Bye."
Yeah.
And I went and talked to the students I knew. Well,
Right.
at any rate, I'm at this party. We're playing beer pong. We do all the normal party things. And then I'm just hanging out because I don't have anywhere to be the next day. I'm off of work. And the party's dying down now. People are sitting on the couch just chilling. And somebody breaks out a bong.
Oh.
And I've never done
For some
weed up to this
reason-
point.
For some reason, I thought I was thinking spin the bottle. I was like,
No.
that's fucking weird. Like,
No,
these are all
no.
adults.
So we're still drinking, and then they start passing around, and everybody's smoking up a little bit. And I think I'd done it one other time,
Yeah.
and so I smoked up a little bit. It was harsh. It was horrible stuff.
Yeah,
It was
because they're
kind of the
all like
worst.
young 20s people
Oh my
trying to buy
God.
shitty weed.
Like-
they have like $10 to their
Yes,
name.
it was like fire in your mouth,
Yeah.
right? It was horrible, and I guess it's called being cross-faded.
Oh, we had talked about this before.
Yes, when you get high and drunk at the same time.
Sure.
I have never been so sick in my life. I threw up so many times in
Man.
this kitchen sink. But that's the story I told my wife on our first date.
It is amazing she married you.
She's a very tolerant, loving person.
Yes, she is.
But as I said, she is my rock. I mean, if I can tell that kind of story on a first date and she's willing to go on a second and a third and a fourth date with you, that says a lot about her as a person, that she's willing to continue to give a flawed, failed human a try, right?
Yeah, so how did the next date go? Like, did she initiate it? Did you initiate it?
She did initiate it because she was going to dinner with friends. Mm-hmm. So she just invited me to go to dinner with her friends.
Whoa! Second date, like, meet the friends. Damn.
Yeah, I don't even know if I still have seen these friends since that date. She has so many of them. I can't keep track of who I've actually gone to dinner with recently. We went to On the Border. Like,
No,
great
that sucks. I'm sorry.
Mexican food.
Like, one,
Indiana.
I know that's a shitty Mexican place. I'm sure being from Texas where you've had very good
I
Mexican
mean, I'm not
food.
going to lie. Growing up as a kid, it was my favorite because they had good cheese enchiladas. But
Yeah, but you're like a
then
young
but
white
then
kid. Like,
but, right. But then you grow up and you have good Mexican food, and you're like, yeah, that place ain't that great.
yeah, on the board,
So-
that sucks too.
But that was our second date. Is she invited me to go, and then I mean, I think just from that point forward, it was kind of like we just started hanging out almost every day.
Yeah, so did you guys move in together before marriage?
We did. Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
Yeah, I had a year lease on the apartment that I gotten, and then once that was up, I didn't renew. I just moved in with her and her roommate in a 2-bedroom house.
Yeah. That was a very small
Yeah,
house.
very small house.
Yes, I helped you move it out of there, and I was like,
yeah,
it's like, oh boy.
yeah, very tiny house.
Yeah, you guys got a lot more space now. Yeah, that's
But yeah, that's a little bit of going through divorce and what it was like for me. I mean, it sucked, and I was kind of an ass for a little while, and there it is.
yeah. So let's ask the fun questions. Like, how'd you propose? Tell me.
So
I want every romantic detail.
we started talking about it a few months out. My parents invited us to go on a cruise right before Christmas, so we did that. And before we did that, I had taken her grandma's ring and gone to a jeweler, and I was having some extra stuff added onto it.
Did she know this?
We had talked leading up, and she had offered the ring up as something I could use if I wanted to. And I was like, sure. And then I said,
Save some money. It's smart.
yeah.
Heirloom, it looks great.
Don't ever say something like that to your wife.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
My diamond is from my mom. It's the only reason I could afford it.
So
My wife bought her own ring.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
But I took it to get some extra stones added on. And while we were coming back from the cruise, I had a phone call from the jeweler. And like we're sitting in the lobby to like get on our airplane. And I get a phone call. I'm like, yes, I'll be there to pick it up.
Right.
And she like immediately knew, oh, okay.
And you're like, drugs. It's drugs.
I'm like,
I do cocaine.
I was like, I'm talking to somebody about a dog.
Right.
You know, like, so she knew it was coming, and she didn't know when though. I set up for her birthday a really nice dinner. We stayed downtown at the Marriott. She thought it was coming then, it didn't. And then Christmas Day, we're over at her parents' house opening presents, and it is awkward because I know what's happening. We're gonna FaceTime my parents in, so I've got
So did her parents know too?
Her parents knew. Like everybody was.
Okay, so everyone except her was in.
Everybody was in on this. Yeah, I went over to her parents' house and asked if it was okay if I proposed. And they were like, "Yes, of course. Please."
Good.
Right. And so I've got somebody over here getting ready to call my parents on my iPad for FaceTime. Her dad and mom are being really awkward and like hiding one disc, like present over here. And her dad he's got his phone out. He's videoing people open presents, but really just her because he didn't know which present it was.
Oh my God.
Even though her mom was saving it for the last present.
Right.
And then she gets this big, huge ass box. I mean, big.
Right.
She opens it. And then on top is just a record because we were into vinyl, right?
Yeah.
And she pulls that out, and then she's like, "What the hell else is in here?" She starts pulling stuff out, and there's
Well, hold on. What was the record? I'm sure you chose a specific record.
Yeah, it was Common.
Common, like the rapper?
Yeah.
Ooh, what album?
Yeah.
Was it B?
Yes.
Oh, that album's so fucking good.
Yeah.
Okay, good choice. All right, I'm on board. I'm good. I approve of the marriage. 2 years too late, but
she opens it with a knife, right? And
your heart.
And I'm like, shit. It scratched the front of the sleeve, and I was like, damn it, that sucks.
Right.
Well, she pulls it out. She's pulling all this paper and shit out. And there's this little box taped down to the bottom. And then as soon as she gets to that point, I'm down on one knee, and my parents are FaceTimed in, and her dad's videoing everything. And I'm proposing to her while I'm wearing PJs, and she's wearing a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle onesie.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
It was great. So I did it
What'd
that way.
Say?
Shut up.
Trying to live in the moment.
But I thought, okay, what could I do for a proposal here? I could do the whole like take her out to a nice dinner and like and the carriage ride, like propose under the moon and all this stuff, right? Like no, Casey is all about her family. She loves her family and loves to do everything with her family. What better way than to include the family in everything? Right. And that was my whole thought, is Christmas Day, while some people say it's cliche.
Well, also, like, her birthday is the day before. Her birthday is on Christmas Eve.
Yeah. So that's why we went out to the nice dinner, because of her birthday. And so I propose, and she says yes, and there's a picture of us, afterwards in our pajamas, and she's holding up the ring finger like she's flipping somebody off.
Yeah, well, it was
that's
funny.
her style.
She had texted me. I don't know if it was that day or the day after, but she texted me. I remember this very vividly, like a Yoda doll, and it said like
yes,
and she said like something like "Marry me, you will" or something, and me like
marry him, I will.
But like not reading into it, I was like, oh, like Merry Christmas. Like I didn't because I think the ring was in the picture too.
It was,
but
it was on Yoda,
like you two weren't in the picture. It was just like the Yoda. Like I didn't catch that. I didn't catch the ring, and so I didn't know you guys were engaged. And then like a week or two later, she's like wearing a ring. I was like, what the fuck is that? She's like, what? I was like, are you engaged? She goes, yeah, I texted you. I was like, oh, and then like it hit me. I was like, I understand your cryptic message of Merry Christmas. It was that. I am really stupid. I'm very sorry. Congratulations. Like, yeah.
But I mean, but that's the kind of like late girl she is, right? She's using a Star Wars little miniature plush thing.
Yeah, she's a dork.
To totally tell people that she got engaged.
Yeah, she's a huge dork.
It's
coming in today, your kid is dressed in like Marvel clothing.
Oh,
and then
I 100% did that.
Me and your wife were talking about a Captain Marvel top
yeah.
that she bought, and now how I want one too. So it's like, yeah, your wife's a dork.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's part of why we get along so well, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because our proposal was like way different. So we God, we were probably engaged for like a year and a half before we even got married. Because we kind of forgot about it. But like we had been,
yeah, we're engaged.
yeah, we've been together like 4
Should we go ahead
years.
and, like, tie the knot?
I just like it's kind of what happened. I never thought I wanted to be married, not because I had any like big deal with it, and like my parents weren't divorced. Well, they were each divorced previously, but not from each other. I just didn't see the point. I was like, I mean, I was also 23, 24 or whatever, and it's like, I don't know, I don't really care about. So we never talked about marriage. Like we were like, as soon as college was over, I went down and moved in with her.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'd been dating like 2 years probably at that time, because again, I took the old victory lap. But like I knew I always wanted to be with her. Like I always wanted to be with her. Like, and at the time I was like, I don't think I want kids. I don't want to be married. I was like, man, I don't care. So we never talked about marriage. And then it started like dawning on me. I was like, oh, I should marry her. Like I really want to do that. And like my crack about the ring was like, I did not prepare for this. Like I did not prepare at all. I asked my mom about it, and like we talked about it, and like she gave me one of her diamonds. So like that's the main stone in my wife's ring. And that's what I proposed. I proposed with just the diamond. Like, and like when I proposed, I don't even know what day it was on. It doesn't matter. It's like some random day. Like she came home in the apartment, like turned the corner. I'm down on one knee. I'm dressed like as I am dressed now, which I'm wearing like a button down and jeans, and I bought flowers, and that was it. She actually thought I hurt myself.
She thought you'd fallen.
Yeah, yeah. And she was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "What?" She's like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "No." Like, "Will you marry me?" And then she said yes. And it was like I didn't want to do it in front of anybody in case she did want to say. I didn't think she would say no, but it's just like, if you don't want to be married, I understand.
Right.
Let's not do it in a public setting where she has to say yes and say no later.
Right.
Well,
and you guys didn't talk about it leading up to, so you had no feeling.
Yeah, literally not.
Really
I mean, I knew she wanted to be with me forever. Like that was always the plan. Like, but marriage itself,
but actually getting married.
Yeah, like the act of getting married was never spoken about. So like literally, I surprised her with marriage. So it's always like, and it took me a while to understand like that's not common. Like maybe it was common in like the 1950s.
I think at some point, well, I mean, if you go back too far, it was even more planned than it is now. Right. Like courtship, if you will, is like, I am going to court you to marriage. Right.
Well, and you marry off the daughter to solidify land or whatever it is.
Exactly. But I mean, then I think it went into an area where people were just dating, and then he would just pop the question. You know? I actually have a coworker right now. I think they've talked about getting married, but she not in a sense to where she has any feeling of when it's going to happen, because she thought for sure it was going to happen on Valentine's Day. It's her favorite holiday.
Okay, that's how dumb time to be engaged. Let me judge your coworkers, but I hope they listen. I'm sorry. But yeah, and like that's how we did it, and we never talked about it, and like a lot of our marriage stuff has all been kind of like non-traditional. We didn't plan anything for a year. We just didn't even like talk about it. We're like, oh shit, we should probably do that.
Oh yeah, remember that time I gave you that ring? That means we're supposed to at some point get
and
married.
it was like, so we did everything in 6 months. I say I didn't do anything. That was literally all her. We did like the wedding planner, and like they helped us a lot and did all that. We actually got married on Free Comic Book Day. Like
there you go.
Yeah, we chose that very specifically. So like we got married like the weekend. Actually, X-Men came out that weekend. So 2014 was the year of Winter Soldier and Guardians of the Galaxy. But that was the year the Marvel MCU did not do a movie that Saturday. It was one of the X-Men movies. But we got married on Free Comic Book Day. Like our wedding was, we did not have a wedding party. Zero. It's just we wanted our wedding to be a little more casual and fun. Like we didn't want any like the big ceremony or anything. So the wedding itself was, people came. There was like an hour cocktail party of like, you come like eat snacks and get drinks, so you don't have to like wait for anything. You can just like, if you just want to get drunk, go ahead and get drunk. Like we don't really care. Our Jimmy Nimbus, the guy who did our music for the intro and outro,
fantastic music.
Agreed. His father did our ceremony.
Nice.
Yeah, because I've known them. Probably 20 plus years at this point.
Oh wow!
And like I said before, like they're family. Like I've known them forever, and like I was like, I want one person to marry me, and that's gonna be him. And actually, we like legally got married the day before at the courthouse. And the courthouse was like funny because like I didn't expect it to be quick. I did not realize the judge was going to take it so seriously. Like very sincerely, and he took it very seriously. But he stared at me so seriously and so sincerely. I started laughing. I was laughing like the whole time. I was like giggling because like
Defense mechanism kick in.
I just like I wasn't ready for how serious he was going to take that, and I very much appreciate it. But I made like an ass out of myself. But we did that, so it's like the wedding is just like the wedding itself is like, it's whatever. Like it's no big deal. Like and like if something goes wrong, which like a couple things did, but like because it's a wedding, weddings go
everything
wrong.
goes wrong, right?
But like yeah, like we did that. We had the cocktail hour. We were married by my friend's father in like 10 minutes. Like,
Nice.
And like we didn't walk down the aisle. We didn't do any of that. We're just like, hey, like let's get married. And we actually like our like wedding like thank you cards was like the group shot. Like we got married at I think it's called Heritage House. It's like this cool old house down in Castleton, and they took like a picture outside of the house, and everybody at the wedding there was in part of the picture. And like like was it like 60% of the people don't go to your wedding that you invite?
Oh,
We invited so little that everybody fucking went. So like we were thinking like maybe we'll get like 50 people at our wedding. We got like 100, and I was like, God damn it! Like thanks, good friends and family, for coming and supporting us. Then we had the Batmobile at our wedding.
that's beautiful.
That was a surprise from our in-laws. Like we took the picture and like
Which Batmobile?
the Burton Batmobile.
Okay, perfect. The iconic.
Which is funny because I had never seen the movie at the time, but it was either like because we like jokingly talked about earlier these because there's someone who has a '60s Batmobile in Lafayette and you can rent that, and I was like, oh, like like that's not my Batmobile, and like while I did not watch the Burton movies at the time, as every Batmobile is inspired after that.
Oh, for
from
sure.
That, but like the Batman Danny Elfman music starts playing, I'm kind of listening. I was like, that sounds like the Batman music. Oh shit, that is the Batman music. And then the Batmobile roars up with a dude dressed in the Batmobile suit.
That's awesome.
Or the Batman suit. If you've ever seen it, there's a billboard in Castleton, the Rocky I Build Asphalt or whatever.
That guy?
That is Batman. He's a huge tool. Like that dude sucks, but like he's a Batmobile.
He
so
looks
whatever.
like a tool.
He is a tool.
Just his picture, and
he's like spray tan and like bleach blonde and like
he's in
his
black
50s.
tank top.
Yeah.
And he clearly, works out, is on steroids, and he's got a gold chain.
Yeah,
and
that
it's
dude,
like, what's he selling on it again?
asphalt. He has an asphalt
yeah,
company.
Yeah, so like
Yeah,
your driveway
he
breaks.
acts exactly as you think he would. But yeah, like the
good
Batmobiles
about
are a
it.
wedding, and that was really cool. And then we just had dancing afterwards. So it was we're trying to like make everybody as like least burden as possible. As come, eat, drink, and have fun with us. And it's obviously like, everyone's wedding is their favorite, but like I fucking love that wedding. And now I like hardcore judge anybody's wedding when I'm going. I'm like, well, we should have done this. And
Oh, let me tell you about my wedding.
you had a very cool wedding.
My wedding. We were talking. Do we want to do a destination? What do we want to do for the honeymoon? Do we want to have something here? Well, what if we just did kind of all of it together? Let's go on a honeymoon and get married, basically. So we did do an official honeymoon later, like more just away from everybody, but we thought, let's go to Hawaii.
Yeah.
And we're going to invite everybody. Anybody who wants to come is more than welcome to come. I mean, you're on your own.
Right.
Like, we're not paying for nothing. You're on your own. So we book it and we go to Hawaii. It was great. I had some family that I didn't anticipate coming because I just didn't think anybody would be willing to put up the bucks for that. Mm-hmm. But it was nice to actually have a little bit more family there. A lot of the friends that I invited to actually like be a part of the wedding, unfortunately, weren't able to make it because finances and things like that. That's an expensive endeavor,
Right.
But we had a lot of people still show up. And we had some friends who just happened to be able to just go, and we had already booked up a condo that nobody was using, so we put them in it. So all they had to do was pay for their flight. So that was neat. But we did it at a beach. Like, we stayed in a condo, but then we went and I think it was a Marriott. They had like a little beach area where you could get married at, and we had a guy who was playing acoustic guitar, and my brother-in-law. We paid to get him ordained.
Oh, that's cool.
So that he could then, actually be the guy who did the ceremony and officiate. And it was just really cool. I mean, we had a friend who popped open my cell phone and he, Facebook Lived it. so that anybody who just happened to see that
Yeah, I
we were
remember
doing
that.
that,
Yeah, I
like they
remember
could
that.
watch the wedding as well. And so that's just on there in perpetuity on Facebook, so you can still go back and watch it. After that, our ceremony, and my dad was my best man, which ended up being really neat. We wrote our own vows. And
Oh yeah, we didn't even do vows.
yeah, so I mean, we wrote our own vows, and on the plane ride over is when I was writing my vows, and
Sounds about right. That's what I would have done.
struggling at this point, going, what am I gonna write?
You just have in crayon written "I love you," all like on one post-it.
What I ended up doing is I took song lyrics from various artists that I love. I took a lyric from Nirvana, from Johnny Cash, from The Clash, all these different bands I love, and I weaved them together into my vows.
That's cool.
I thought it was one of my finer writing moments. I have a few of them, and that was probably tops for me. So it was cool to do that and to write our own vows and everything. But afterwards, it was great because we're like, okay, perfect. Now we paid for everybody to now come to the luau.
Right.
And so our wedding reception, if you will, was just a luau that was thrown by the hotel.
That's cool.
That a shit ton of other random ass people were at. Mm-hmm. And it was an open bar. They had a pig cooking in the ground.
Awesome.
It was fan-freaking-tastic. I mean, I cannot imagine a better, scenario for a wedding. I mean, you're in a beautiful location. You've got this wonderful food, an open bar. You've got a lot of your family there. I mean, it was just wonderful. And we walk up after doing our pictures, and this guy who's dressed in his lei and his luau outfit and everything, he comes up to us and he's like, "Hey, you've been chosen to come up on stage to start the luau." And I'm like, okay. Chosen. He hands me this conch shell. And he goes, "Okay, have you ever played a musical instrument?" I'm like, "I have. I play a clarinet. Yes. I know what to do here, kind of. You blow into the hole." So put it up to my mouth, and I practiced blowing into it, and I was able to do it a little bit. And the guy's like, "All right, cool. We're just going to go up on stage. She's going to tell a story. You're going to blow for half the island, and then the other guy's going to blow for the other half of the island, and be like a little contest."
Right.
I'm like, "All right, cool." So I get up there, and it was my turn, and I take the conch shell, and I blow into it, and I swear to God, it was like I'd been doing it for a million years. It was like the lady, I could see her in my peripheral vision. She like doing this number, like looking over at me, like, "Huh, this white guy's doing this? Right. What?" And, of course, I watched the video later, and the guy that showed me how to do it, he's in the background doing, like, a haka dance,
right,
behind me. Awesome. And everything. And, it was badass. And the other guy, he tries, and it sounds like... And then he looked over, and he goes... And the lady's like, "Do you want to try again?" And he's like, "No."
I'm good.
I'm done. He's like,
"That guy's got it.
You win." I mean, it was awesome. It was so fun.
Good. That's awesome. Yeah. I remember when all that happened. So, yeah. So we like marriage.
Marriage is awesome. I just want to say, and I said it, I think, a couple times already, my wife is my rock. She is, what keeps me going and what keeps me stable. And if I didn't have her, I mean, I'm sure I'd still be living, just a random ass single life and just being unhappy and miserable. Now that I've got her, it's like, wow.
Good. Well,
stuff is good, Like, life is good when you've got somebody that you can lean on, and they can lean on you.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And that's what I wanted out of marriage all along. And I had to move to Indiana, to find it.
But hey, you did it. It was all that really matters.
It's like, I think I've made the joke before. My wife's never really watched How I Met Your Mother. She's caught a few episodes, but I'm like, I have got a very long How I Met Your Mother story that I could tell. And I'm like, that's incredible. That sounds great to me.
Yeah, good.
So.
Yeah, and with that, so right before we do our regular credits, I want to shout out to somebody else. We had talked about them a little bit last week. The guys from Prompt and Circumstance, another podcast that kind of started around the same time we did, Joe and CJ. Something that they're doing that's very cool is once a week, they're going to review a podcast. And we were like, just kind of messaging back and forth. And after the parenting episode, Joe had messaged us and said, "Hey, like, we want you to be the first podcast that we review." And we were very excited. He sent over like the
Big honor.
write up, and like they write very well, which I kind of forgot that they do a writing prompt podcast. So I would hope that they
Right.
write
Yeah.
very well.
Their whole podcast is about writing.
Yeah, and so I by the time you listen to this, the review will be up. You can find it at promptpodcast.com, which is also just a very slick website. You guys should go check that
Yeah,
out.
absolutely. We're a
Again,
little jealous.
And then, yeah, it's very, very nice. I thought it was very cool when I looked it up. But really, you guys should go check out Prompt and Circumstance podcast. It's a great podcast. It's, every Monday they run through 3 different writing prompts they find on Reddit every week, and it's very funny. Like this past week, they talked about if music were illegal, how would you find it, and if your middle management retail manager was Cthulhu. So I had a very good time listening to that this week.
I would be playing a lot of Metallica for my manager.
Yeah, but Joe and CJ are great guys, and they're very funny and very entertaining. It's a very well-made podcast, and you guys should go check that out.
Yeah, check them out.
But with that, thank you everyone for listening to Thursday Thunderdome. I want to thank Sarah Lichty, who created our logo and did our graphic design. You can find her at work at sarahlichtydesign.com. Thank you to Jimmy Nimbus, the man I have known for about 20 or so years, for doing our intro and outro music, and thank you for your father for marrying me and my wife. That song is called Top Off, and you can find it at jimmynimbus.bandcamp.com, and please check out Hotel Records, which he's also a part of. You can find us on Twitter at Thursday T-Dome, or on Facebook and Instagram at Thursday Thunderdome. If you want to leave us any questions, comments, topics you'd like to hear, or just ask how we are, please contact us either on Twitter or email is thursdaythunderdome@gmail.com. And finally, you can find us on all the podcast platforms like Google Play, Spotify, TuneIn, and iTunes. Go on iTunes, rate, review, and subscribe.
Please and thank you.
Yes, we would be very much appreciated. It helps us a lot. Share this podcast with some friends. If you find something if you disagree with my Batman opinions or agree with how we want to parent or be married, that's
Right.
all that is
if you
good.
disagree with how we change diapers.
Yeah, just like send it to a friend, and that'll help us grow the podcast a lot. And just, again, thank you for listening.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks.